government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Prime Minister and President, what's the message that you're sending from here to Turkey?
Excuse me, we're taking questions for the Prime Minister of Israel.
No, you can ask me that. That's okay. Fine.
Okay. Well, I would love to get answers from them too. And for you, Mr. President, Mr. Prime Minister, about Iran, what do you expect President Trump to join Israel, to help Israel? To what cooperation do you expect from your meeting with President Trump regarding Iran?
Look, we are not seeking confrontation with anyone. I can speak on behalf of Israel, and I think for my two partners here, no one seeks confrontation. On the contrary, we seek stability, prosperity, and peace, exactly as the three of us said. Obviously, we are committed to defending each one of our countries, but also defending maritime lanes and other things that are shared in common and that go under international norms. I think that is obvious. So I would say this is a coalition for these norms and for that stability, and we hope that it won't be tested.
Called up the heads of the countries. As an example, France, I spoke to a very good man, President Macron of France, and I said, Emmanuel, you have to raise your drug prices. He said, no, we will not do that. I said, you have to. He said, no, I don't want to do that. Look, you're asking me if it go to $10 to $20. You're going to come way down to 20. We don't want to do that. Now, in all fairness, no other president even tried. But if they did try, there was actually a fake story in Stupid USA Today. I didn't even think they make it anymore. I haven't. But I saw a story where Biden was trying to do this. Biden never tried to do it. Biden didn't know he was alive. He never tried to do it. But they're taking it from $10 to $20. So he would say, and the other leader said the same thing. No, we won't do it. I said, no, you're going to do it 100%. They said, nope, we're not doing it. We're not going to double our price. Because, again, if you go from $10 to $20, they're doubling their price. We're coming down, though, from $130 to $20 because we're going to get the lowest drug prices in the world. Whatever the lowest price is called favored nations. We're going to have the lowest price. So I said, no, you're going to. No, I will not do this. Politically, it's unacceptable. I said, Emmanuel, you're going to do it 100%. Please accept it now. Be nice. You're going to do it 100%. No, I will not. I said, yes, you are. He said, why do you keep telling me I am when I'm not? Because if you don't do it, I'm going to put a 25% tariff on everything France sells into the United States of America.
Oil. What are we going to do with the oil that we have?
Going to do with what?
The oil that has been seized. The United States seized 1.9 million barrels of oil on December 10th.
We're going to keep it. We're keeping it.
Where's it? Are we going to sell it or put it in the strategic oil reserve?
Maybe we'll sell it. Maybe we'll keep it. Maybe we'll use it in the strategic reserves. We're keeping it. We're keeping the ships also.
In Venezuela to force Maduro from power?
Well, I think it probably would. I can't tell that. That's up to him what he wants to do. I think it would be smart for him to do that. But again, we're going to find out. Look, Venezuela did terrible things to the United States.
On the talks that took place this past weekend, and could a trilateral discussion of sort be the next step for Ukrainian, U.S., and Russian delegations?
So the talks on Ukraine, Russia are going along. They lost, as you know, 27,000 soldiers last month, mostly soldiers, some people in Kiev, etc., but mostly soldiers. And the talks are going along. And I say that, there's tremendous hatred between these two leaders, between President Putin, President Zelensky, tremendous hatred. And I hope we can get it done. We are talking. Talks are going okay. But, I've solved 8 wars. We need Greenland for national security. Not for minerals. We have so many sites for minerals and oil and everything. We have more oil than any other country in the world. We need Greenland for national security. And if you take a look at Greenland, you look up and down the coast, you have Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need it for national security. We have to have it. And he wanted to lead the charge, so we're making him Marco today, special envoy.
You know that mic shouldn't be muted like that. It's supposed to go off automatically. Sorry about that. Welcome back to the SCIF. I owe you an apology because yesterday we had to run a rerun. I had said that we're going to have a live show, but we have a massive story that we're working on. We had sources flying in, and we had to meet people, and just couldn't do the show. It happens. We are a news wire. We have stuff coming in all night long, all weekend, and we try to curate it and get the best news out that we can, and from all of our different reporters all over the world. And that's what you expect from us. And sometimes it creates issues with our production schedule. So I apologize, but by the way, we'll be running a rerun tomorrow and Friday and be back live Monday. After Christmas. Merry Christmas, by the way. Enjoy your family, enjoy the holiday, spend some time with your kids, get to know your kids again, and hope you have a wonderful family time over the next week. I want to say hello to the crew in the chat. Thank you for joining us today. I really appreciate all your support and all your spreading the word. We get lots of people reposting the streams, and just it's fantastic. Please keep doing that and up your game a little bit. Go to cdm.press several times a day. Put us in your daily scan. We're on podcast. We're on Gettr. If you want to catch us there on our CDM channel, we load this show onto YouTube. We're on multiple X channels and on Rumble. There's been some issues with Rumble not loading the embeds on articles. So we're going to start putting below any Rumble embed we put. If you can't see the video, go here to Rumble directly. So we'll start doing that to try to alleviate that issue. That's been an issue. I don't know if it's specific to us. I've heard it's other people are not seeing videos on Rumble. So we'll continue to try to work all these issues. Check out whatfinger.com, great aggregator site. We were with a source over the last several days. We have a huge story that you're going to hear soon. Again, we're known for breaking stories, and this one's a biggie. So we're working at verifying it, and we'll be putting it out when we're ready. We got a great show today. Bill Quinn will be on with us. We're going to talk about what's going on continually in Georgia. It's one of we're the axe in Georgia, as they say on Wall Street, and we're going to continue to be pushing that. So a lot of people are suddenly discovering election fraud in Georgia and all the work gone to it. But we, by the way, everybody's reporting on Garland's conference, voter GA, the non-certified ballots. We reported that weeks ago. Everybody's saying, why aren't you reporting this? And I said, well, why don't you go back and look at the Georgia show that we do every Sunday and every Wednesday evening? And we've been talking about this weeks ago before anyone else. And, we just get tired of having to toot our own horn. But I'm going to say that's a story we put out some time ago with our source and financial advisor, resident to CDM, David Cross. So Bill Quinn is going to talk about things updated in Georgia. And then I've got Pete Blaber in the second hour. Just amazing stuff going on with Ukraine. And we're going to get you up to speed. Pete and I were off last week because just crazy travel schedules. I was down at the Pentagon, as you know, and just couldn't do the SitRep with Pete. So we're going to do it today and get that out. Wow, just a lot going on. Thank you for being with us today. We're going to take a break. We'll be right back after this, and we'll get into Georgia with Bill Quinn. We'll be right back.
I'm a naturopathic doctor. we are in the world of medicine very acquainted with many modalities, but probably the one most familiar with everybody would be two things: homeopathy and herbals or herbs, maybe some nutrients too, vitamins, minerals, that kind of thing. Now, we do know a lot about the drugs because we have to find out what drug you're taking affects you and what nutrient it depletes you of, because most every drug pharmacy product will deplete something. So we have been trained and we have a database that we can check into that says this is going to take your B12 away. The pharmaceutical company cannot patent organic substances made by the body. You're not born short of Advil. You're not born short of Ritalin.
Yeah.
You can be born short of insulin, right? The answers to staying healthy and keeping away from even SARS or any of those things getting into you is staying healthy. You and I get sick because our terrain gets out of balance. Well, that's the same thing in the soil. You and I are made from this thing called dirt. And when we get out of balance, we have the same thing happen. Weeds start to grow in our body. Right? And that's what we want in our body. We want nutrients that we don't understand how to get well enough yet because our suppliers are lacking knowledge on nutrient density foods. So
this is what drove you to develop this, was your knowledge of this, right?
Right. You know that.
I'm excited to announce that we're having a huge sale on overstock and brand new products. For example, My Pillow Percale bed sheets, every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. Our Percale bed sheets are breathable, cool and crisp, and they're perfect for spring and summer. And check out Rev 7, the next generation of energy drinks. It tastes great, and it gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. Best of all, it's actually good for you. And for a limited time, try our 3-pack absolutely free. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs, or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88. Twin size, full size, queen size, king sizes, all $29.88. Inventory is extremely limited at this price, so order now.
Welcome back to the SCIF. I get asked all the time, how do you keep going? How do you just keep going day after day, 24/7, no sleep? Nucleo Boost, baby. This is it. Check it out. Go to cdmnutrition.com. You can get the powder, which I use every day in yogurt, or you can put it in a smoothie. This is the capsules I take on the road, Nucleo Boost. Just fantastic. Keeps you going, gives your cells everything you need at the cellular level, all the nutrition you need. It gets the bioallo to get it into the cell. And, we just keep rolling, and we're going to keep rolling. And we trust Nucleo Boost to keep us going. So go to cdmnutrition.com. Check out the subscription. It's cheaper. And get on Nucleo Boost. I highly recommend it. Let's do the mission brief real quick. I'm your host, Todd Wood. Today is December 23rd. Christmas is almost here. Merry Christmas. Trump announces Golden Battleship, the Golden Fleet, the new battleships, the Defiant class. We're going to get into that with Commander SitRep in a few days, but we'll talk about that specifics that he announced yesterday later in the show. DHS offers 3,000 to illegals to go home. Russian general killed in a car bomb in Moscow. Again, more, well, it's war. So assassinations in Moscow, the Ukrainians or whoever's helping them obviously did that. And Chris Rea, just a fantastic artist, passed away. One of my favorites. We'll discuss, maybe even play a video if you're lucky. And Israel wants to attack Iran again. Wow. Let's go into some of these stories while I got you. So here we go. Trump announces the Golden Fleet battleships. It's on armedforces.press. You can read it. He says he's going to build these ships in 2.5 years. I mean, that's, doubtful, but that's what he's saying. He was flanked by Secretary of State Rubio, Secretary of the Navy John Phelan, and Secretary of War Pete Hegseth. He said they're going to build 2 vessels to begin with, but as many as 25 as fast as possible. The battleships are going to be armed not just in terms of guns and missiles at the highest level. They'll also have hypersonic weapons, state-of-the-art electric rail guns, and even the high-powered lasers that you've been starting to read about. Once completed, these 30 to 40,000 ton vessels will be the flagships of the American naval fleet. There's never been anything like them. We're going to start almost immediately. We're calling it the Golden Fleet, and we're building for the United States Navy. As you know, we're desperately in need of ships. Our ships, some of them are old and tired and obsolete. We're going to be building right now also 3 large carriers, and we're also building super duper subs. So we got the super duper subs coming. Hold on to your hat. It's going to be a new Navy. We'll talk about that with Commander Salamander if this is all realistic. DHS offers $3,000 for illegal aliens to go home to voluntarily self-deport by the end of this year. Trump is touting the 2.5 million illegals that have already been deported or self-deported. This is obviously effective, so they're trying to get them to leave via the app that they've developed. You just, say you're leaving, you declare yourself, you get the $3,000, you cross the border, and it self-deports people rather than a big operation to remove them physically, which costs a lot of money. So this is cheaper in the long run. We hope it works. Tsarism.com, our Eastern European site, Lieutenant General killed in car bombing in Moscow. He was obviously involved in the Ukraine front in the Ukraine war and killed by the Ukrainians or some other intelligence service they're working with. You can find that on our Eastern European site, Tsarism.com. Chris Rea, fantastic artist. Rest in peace, Chris. I may play a video later in the show. If you haven't heard his just powerful, haunting voice and just amazing melodies, check out Chris Rea. Road to Hell is an amazing song. Just one after the other, hit after hit. I was turned on to him decades ago, but he passed away in his 70s from an illness, but just a fantastic musician. If you've never heard and listened to Chris Rea and you want something in the evenings just to chill, that is it. Check him out. We'll play something later in the show. And Netanyahu wants to attack Iran again. Surprise, surprise. We will be on this story. It's something that we know a lot about, and we'll be reporting on it over time in the near future. So I'm going to take another break, and then we'll come back, and we're going to run some of Bill Quinn yesterday on the Georgia show, and actually 2 days ago. Important information. Is the dam breaking in Georgia? We think it may be. Stay with us. We'll be right back on the SCIF. Taking a couple breaks early to get through some of the commercials, but this one will be a long video, so stay with us.
Celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7. I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down, and doctors' offices were shut down, and even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. All the men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies they will all turn out and will all.
Well, we're back. I'm going to play now some of our Georgia show with Bill Quinn on what's happening in Georgia. Is the dam breaking? So here we go. I think you'll enjoy this.
Hi, welcome back. This is Bill Quinn. You know, this week seems like a perfect time to go back and review some of how we got here. We have said for months, for years now, that Georgia seems to be the epicenter to many of the problems surrounding the 2020 election and perhaps more. And it does seem like those crows are coming home to roost at the moment. So we wanted to review a few of the things that have happened and give you a little background and maybe set the stage for what may happen next. So first, this week, the DOJ announced that they were suing Brad Raffensperger for voting records. Many have questioned Raffensperger again and again and again since the beginning of the problem, since literally the morning after the 2020 election. We're going to show you that in just a moment. But we wanted to give you Harmeet Dillon's take on why this had to occur and let you hear from her why this is going on and why it's so important. Let's hear from her now.
Asking for voluntary compliance, and 6 states did voluntarily comply with our data requests and have shared their information with us. Some states are voluntarily, now that the president has lifted a fee that was associated with cleaning their data through the federal SAVE database, some of doing that on their own, and we're helping in coordination with other agencies make sure that they have the data they need to take dead people off the voter rolls, people who are not citizens off the voter rolls, et cetera. I'm close to reaching an agreement, I hope, with 10 states. I've had discussions with a couple of other secretaries of state in my office just this week about whether they're going to comply or whether I'm going to sue them. Georgia has told us they're not going to comply. I'll be suing Georgia in the immediate future. And then I'm in litigation with 18 states in 19 different lawsuits.
So you heard her right there. Georgia has said they will not comply and not cooperate, and so I'll be suing them. And indeed, that's now happened. So as we look back, one of the things that becomes clearer now is the signals have been here all along that something was wrong. Even the morning after the 2020 election, Raffensperger himself made a couple of statements and then appeared to literally be taken off the air. Let's see this. This is a segment that BKP and David Cross had put together and aired some years ago, but it does give a sense of what occurred that morning. Here we go.
To get back to our election coverage and another check of the electoral map. Check those 9 states out in gray. Still at this hour, undecided. The presidential race hanging in the balance. They're counting ballots as we speak.
That's right. And one of the states that's a squeaker, state that Joe Biden had high hopes late in the game of flipping in this election, but we shall see, is Georgia. And that state's Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, is with us now. Mr. Secretary, good morning on a busy morning. I guess the big question is, Hoda?
Yeah, we want to know, when are we going to get your votes? When are we going to find out who's won your state?
Well, we have about 2% left to go. We had great success yesterday. We had 4.7 million voters that voted, record breaker for us, beats the 4.1 in 2016. We also had average wait time of only 2 minutes, statewide average. We have about 2% left to go. And you can see where we are right now with the results that have been reported. I don't think it'll change any of the outcomes, but that's what really people that make those predictions do. What we'll do is get.
Well, that was interesting, though. We were just getting to the good part there because the Secretary of State said they got 2%.
All right,
I'm
so
I'm sorry, David. I didn't mean to give the producer direction, but I wanted to hear that so bad. This is your lay. I wanted to hear that so bad. So go ahead.
That is okay. And so when that screen went black, I think that somebody pulled the cord on that, because he spit out a ton of information in about 60 seconds. And I think somebody said, hold the phone, yank the cord. And so I think they pulled it out. So here's the thing. So 4.7 million ballots, that's gigantic. Okay. And what you need to know that if your job as the Secretary of State, guess what information you have at 9:50 a.m. when he's going on this show? You know exactly how many people voted on election day, number one, and that number is not going to change. You know exactly how many people turned in or voted early. That number is not going to change. You know how many provisional ballots that there were. That number is not going to change. Or actually, it might change by maybe 10 or 20 from overseas votes coming in. It doesn't change by much. But number four, you know exactly how many mail-in ballots that there were. And that's where the problem is here. So go to the next slide, number 14. And you might need to blow this one up a little bit, but Raffensperger confirmed on the Today Show 4.7 million ballots with about 2% left to count. And what you're looking at is a screen grab from something called the Wayback Machine. And for anybody who doesn't know, if you go to Wayback, just Google Wayback Machine, you can put in the website address for any website that you want to see, and it'll go back in time. It'll say, this is what that website looked like on such and such a date. And it'll pull it up if anybody had gone to retrieve that information on a particular day. And so, as everybody knows, I mean, all the news agencies were checking this thing all the time. And I've got like a 100-point slide that goes through all these screen captures that shows exactly what happened. But as you can see, there it is, 4.7 million ballots. All right. And in red on the right-hand side, it says that there are 13 precincts left to count. 158 of 159 counties are left to report. Well, guess which one that was? Fulton County was not fully reported yet because they had 13 precincts in Fulton County.
Well, there you go. The first inkling perhaps that Fulton was somewhere in the middle of this kerfuffle that occurred. Subsequent to this, the fight began to uncover what really had happened, and many people will recall and may have actually been involved with seeking out information from the counties to see what the counties' voting profiles and patterns looked like. And what followed was either counties would comply and help and provide, for example, things like cast vote records, a record of how each ballot looked in terms of its voting choices. Or some counties would deny that they even had access to such things. Many people got responses that said, no responsive records available. And they made excuse after excuse, some counties, for not delivering that. What's interesting now is, as more comes out, all those records, all those denials, all those requests that went unanswered are still in hand by the election integrity folks all across Georgia. And so the folks that appeared to be unwilling to help, unwilling to cooperate, just like you heard Harmeet Dillon just explain, will they be called on the question as to why they didn't help and what were they what knowledge did they have in hand that they weren't willing to have others know? Well, we don't know that, but it will be interesting to see that play out. There are a number of cases where information was found. We'll show you one of those in just a moment, but let's just review this. So again, Georgia hiding ballots as Raffensperger blocks DOJ and from reviewing voter rolls. You may recall that David Cross, who you just saw, and myself in this case, had a case against Raffensperger for exactly that, for not cleaning the voter rolls on a regular basis as required by federal law. And we'll see how all this plays out. Was he or was he not? He claimed to, yet the evidence shown by folks like Jason Frazier, Peter Bertiger, Chris Gleason, and many others. Forgive me for those that I'm failing to list at this moment. But as you look back, Rick Richards, who built a system to be able to show what voter roll abnormalities existed, duplicate voters, voters with first names abbreviated in various ways, voters with last names abbreviated, voters, listed as an unknown address. Everything you can come up with is somewhere in our voter rolls. And it isn't just Fulton County. What we believe is that as more is found, this will be shown to be a something in many ways that was done across many counties. How pervasively, how badly, well, we don't know until we see it. But it is unlikely to probably impossible that this was confined to any one county. This is going to be something that goes across the state. Again, if indeed we are the epicenter, then that's probably what will be shown. And then here's the official announcement from the Justice Department signifying that they've sued 4 states for failure to produce the voter rolls as required. On top of this, now the Fulton County response has been, we don't dispute. It's different than saying you're right. It's we don't dispute that over 300,000 voting votes were lacking poll worker signatures. 300,000. Now recall that the 2020 election in Georgia was awarded based on a difference of 11,700 votes and change after weeks of working on it. Were the steps done that were really portrayed to the public? Again, I think we're going to find out. But now we know at least that 300,000 ballots and ballots under signature were in fact not under signature, and that was an error. That could not be certified in that manner, is what we understand. So here's the latest. One of the comments that's been made. Georgia Secretary Brad Raffensperger declines, as a reminder to us, declines to testify under oath regarding the security of the state's Dominion voting machines. Now, this happened on several occasions. This happened during the Halderman case, you may recall, where one of the key witnesses, Dr. Halderman, was able to hack one of the voting machines with nothing more than a simple ballpoint pen. It also happened in the case of True the Vote's federal case against Stacey Abrams' Fair Fight. That case eventually went to trial up in Gainesville, Georgia. True the Vote prevailed. But notably, Raffensperger fought not to testify in that case, and indeed was not required to testify in the case. So how many times did he do this? Well, I guess we'll keep track of that as we go forward as well. But you can begin to feel that the evidence, the anomalies continue to mount. And this from David Schaefer, when Andrew Fleshman said every single Fulton County vote was audited, which is to say a human being personally hand-checked it for accuracy. I think when the when the facts are fully known, we'll find that that was not in fact the case. Many have said that the audits which were claimed to have been done were either done on a sample basis, or in fact, some may not have been done at all. So we will find out what that is. But Schaefer's point was, how could you possibly know? The hand count was largely conducted in secret. The Republican Party was limited to one observer for every 10 counting tables. It was a sham. Just like you saw during the other elections in other states during 2020, many observers were kept away from where they could actually observe anything. And so what was it that was going on that they should have been able to see but were not? One of the things we wanted to point out was the massive amount of information that's been delivered and so forth. One of the things that Brian Kemp and others have claimed regularly is that they've seen no evidence of any problem with regard to the election. It's one of the things that he came out with. But then again, you do see cases where much information was delivered, in some cases actually to the governor's office itself, and we wanted to show one of those. The boxes you're looking at are filled with evidence. I am told that this represents 40,000 affidavits showing voter anomalies or voter roll anomalies across a number of counties. But 40,000. So, who is going to be able to claim that nothing was found? Very few, we believe, as we go forward. One of the things that happened too was eventually, if you ask the right question, folks begin to make mistakes. And indeed, one of the folks in Forsyth County said something that may in turn show that certain things were being done that opened the door perhaps to misuse of voter registrations. Let's take a look at that. As we get ready to play this, let me explain what you're going to see. In Forsyth County, one of the election board members, Joel Nat, was caught on video back in 22, literally minutes after he joined the remainder of the board and voted to dismiss challenges on over 12,000 registrations, which appeared to be in excess of what should be registered in Forsyth County. And he was at a meeting of several of the GOP members immediately following the Board of Elections meeting and was challenged regarding why are there people that appear to be on these voter rolls that shouldn't be. And indeed, he actually states the percentage that that he believes or would agree with is in excess in Forsyth County. Let's take a look at this.
Here's the net issue. There's about 8 to 10% of this county that shouldn't be on the roll. Yeah.
No, there's 17% to 20% if you follow his number, and I will agree with it.
Well, it may be high.
No, there's 17% to 20% if you follow his number, and I will agree with it.
Well,
no, there's 17% to 20% if you follow his number, and I will agree with it. Well,
so if 17 to 20% of the voter roll entries, the registration, shouldn't be on the rolls, and he agrees with it, why would he dismiss challenges on 12,000 of the voter registrations that probably encompass many that shouldn't be there? These are the kind of questions that will be asked, I believe, in the coming days, not just of any one county, but of many counties. One of the things we want to do, too, is give recognition to those who fought so hard, or begin to give recognition to those who fought so hard for such a long period of time. One of the cases that that we want to make note of is the case complaint originally started by Joe Rossi and Kevin Moncla. And I believe they had a couple other folks helping, but those are the primary names that you see associated with the case. And this is the case that the state election board seems to have fought tooth and nail to quash, to stall, to avoid disclosing information. And going back, we find that the same thing was done even by the the general counsel of the Secretary of State's office, Charlene McGowan. You'll recall that in May of 24, when she was asked and subpoenaed, indeed, for the ballots coming from Forsyth County, she denied that, saying that, well, however, we can make the files available for inspection so long as the board is in agreement that this case is fully resolved and closed, meaning they will not continue to pursue it. Again, back to the Secretary of State's office. She is the general counsel for the Secretary of State of Georgia, Brad Raffensperger. Let's listen to Joe Rossi as he describes the status in a press conference held within the Capitol itself.
Georgia owes President Donald J. Trump an apology. President Trump has been indicted by Fulton County. May I remind you that Fulton County has been found to be in violation of election law, not once for the hand audit, but twice for the machine count. And now we can prove that they had intentional human intervention, which is the predicate for election fraud. You all know our case is SEB 2023, thank you, -25. In that case, you know that it involved 17,852 votes counted without ballot images. You also know that for the first machine count, 20,713 ballots were counted with what I like to call receipts. I guess the fancy word is tabulator tapes. And I always like to say you can't get out of Walmart these days without showing your receipt, but for some reason you can count 20,000 votes without a receipt. The last part of this complaint perhaps is the most concerning, because we've uncovered some recent information that makes it so. In addition to proving that 3,930 ballots were scanned and counted, I want to say that again, and counted. And I sure hope that Miss Charlene McGowan is listening. Miss McGowan, on May 7th, you and your team got up before the board and said, yeah, I think Mr. Rossi's right. These ballots were scanned twice, but we're not sure if they were counted twice. That is a lie. And we know that because the data that shows they're counted twice is on the cast vote records, and that is available to the Secretary of State. Other experts know that those ballots were counted twice. Media sources know, I saw Mr. Nisi from the AJC just walk up here, and not to get him in trouble, but he recently reported he thinks they were counted twice also. And that's from the AJC. Sorry, Mark, if I'm going too far, just say, stop, Joe, you're gonna get me in trouble. Okay, so they were counted twice for the second machine count. We know with certainty that this duplication of ballots was not, I want to repeat, was not an administrative error. And I'm going to demonstrate to you how we know that shortly. Rather, the duplication process was due to intentional human intervention.
So as we go forward, what are we going to see? Are we going to see more cases taken up by the SEB? Well, it appears that boat may now have sailed, and the authorities may be sitting at a much more federal level as they begin to look into this. And of course, like everything else, once you find, the first thread that thread often leads to other threads. And, the reporting on this could take hours, maybe days, with all the data, all the work that's been done now for 5 years to uncover what really happened. And so we will be fascinated in the days to come as we see more, one, confirmed and disclosed, and two, the folks that have information in hand that can bring it forward, we hope will. So once again, we appreciate you being here, and we will have more as more occurs on the election integrity front in Georgia.
We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back with a lot more information on the Georgia show. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
I'm David Cross, and you may know me from my election integrity work, but I also own U.S. Asset Management, an investment advisory practice. I've been an advisor for nearly 30 years, and one of the questions I get asked most frequently is, do I have enough money relative to other people my age? And while that's an interesting question, it's also the wrong question. The right question is do you have enough money to sustain your lifestyle for the rest of your life? This is a question you should know the answer to. This is what we do. Check us out at us-am.com and look for our big, proud American Eagle logo.
I'm watching my friends gain more and more weight. And then eventually, I got to tell you, this is a little dark, but bad diet literally killed my whole crew.
Wow.
Diabetes, a stroke. I mean, all kinds of stuff. It's like, you had a stroke? You're not even 50 years old. You guys got to quit eating this stuff. Your body knows what's what. You're not conscious of this. But that's why people will go to the refrigerator and they'll grab this and that and the other and put together this outrageously elaborate combination of foods. Your body's trying to reach balance. Unbeknownst to us, our bodies are always trying to reach homeostasis. You can't eat all of this stuff and expect to live a long time. And one thing led to another, and I went, forget this. We're going to make our own product. So we partnered with one of the world's top 3 biochemists where nutrition-specific study is concerned. I said, all I want is the best nutritional and immune support product in the world. So we mix it in yogurt. It's a powder. I got a bag of it here. I keep one on the console all the time, just so I can show people.
Yeah.
And it's a powder. Now, this is not candy. This is hardcore nutrition, and sugar is an enemy. And most people do not know that the reason these bellies are showing up on people all over the place, your body makes fat to store the toxins it can't get rid of. So it just puts them over here. But I can tell you this, you take this for 30 days and then lay off of it for 2 or 3 days, and you'll go, good grief, give me some more. Skin, nails, hair growing back, cut yourself and it heals in half the time.
Your government doesn't care about you. That's why you need a medical emergency kit. It contains life-saving medications like ivermectin, Z-Pak, and antibiotics. Stock them before they block them.
Okay, welcome back to the Georgia Show. I want to talk Nucleo Boost. This is the capsule form, which I take on the road. One of these a day gives you everything you need at the cellular level, as John B. Wells was just saying. This is the powder. You can put it in a smoothie and yogurt. It's fine. I prefer that, but I take the capsules on the road. It's what gives us everything you need to keep our stamina going here and keep bringing you the best news out there, the most critical news. It's at cdmnutrition.com. You can go there, check out the subscriptions. It's much cheaper.
And a phone call that we got, actually a couple phone calls, suggesting there might be a change going on in some of the organizations that now appear to be under investigation or approaching investigation. Let's quickly recap what's happened in Georgia in the last few days. Most people are now aware that the DOJ has sued the Georgia Secretary of State, Brad Raffensperger, and in an interview, they claim to have done so because of an unwillingness to cooperate from Brad Raffensperger and the Secretary of State's office. That seems very odd and ominous to some, but maybe not very surprising given all the different data and evidence that's come out in the past 5 years, thanks to the work of dozens, hundreds perhaps across Georgia, looking for the key to prove what happened in the 2020 elections.
and in many cases delivering it, and yet getting no action from certain parties, including Brad Raffensperger's office. So the call that we got suggested that people may be trying to, in some ways, get themselves away from these people that are now appearing to be under investigation. And there may be more of those in the coming days. We don't know. But we found it interesting. We thought we'd look into it. But there is this unmistakable feeling of a dam beginning to, dike beginning to burst with information, disclosures, investigations, and other things with regard to the elections in Georgia. And as we began to dig into this question that was posed to us, are people trying to get away from this? The feeling that we get was something like this. Is this what we're seeing? Are people deserting a number of places, including perhaps the HMS Raffensperger? Well, we don't know, but it is an interesting question. And we began digging into it to find out, are there changes going on that we hadn't seen before that we weren't aware of? Let's recap something that we reported on. This goes back to 2024 and regarded a meeting of the Georgia Republican Assembly, and one Jason Thompson, who received a question regarding a couple of his family members that were working for Brad Raffensperger's office, and he had a particular reaction to that. Let's see what he had to say.
My difficulty with this situation is the same one with the Pritchard situation. It is the appearance of a conflict, the appearance of impropriety, not that any actually exists, that will be in people's minds. It's just like it's not the crime, it's the cover-up.
So there's no cover-up, there's no crime, and how could there even be an appearance of impropriety when nothing, either one of them, my God, you all. I mean, this is my family, all right? I'm about to get pissed, and I'm not that, I told my daughter this when she was going off to law school. I said, the first thing you got to remember is don't take shit from anybody. And I don't do that. And that's why I stick up for you on the RNC. That's why I fuck your face a little buddy. That's what I do, all right? I don't take it. I'm that guy, all right? I'm that guy. And that's why I was that guy that stood up to Ronna McDaniel, too. No one else is doing it. I did it. You talk about something that has something to do with the job of the RNC.
So a couple notable things. During this video, you'll notice a gentleman walked over and attempted to remove the microphone from the gentleman who was making the question. The gentleman attempting to take the microphone away was one Brent Frost V. Notable from much of our reporting recently, and one of the folks tied up in various aspects of the First Liberty scandal, the Ponzi scheme of $140 million or perhaps more, crossing what we understand to be 38 states now with various parties. So the other thing is, you noticed a gentleman with his back turned that seemed to be chuckling at this whole exchange. We believe that's Josh McCoon, the chairman of the Georgia Republican Party. Very interesting. So you could see his reaction, and he was talking about, he said members of his family that this gentleman was asking about. And he was asking specifically about Julianne Thompson, who is Jason Thompson's wife, and his daughter, Victoria Thompson. Let's take a look at some facts regarding those two if we can. So in reviewing Julianne Thompson's LinkedIn account just this week, we noted that she is listed for open for work. Well, that's interesting because we understood previously in this question that Jason Thompson received regarded her employment at that time, apparently, by Brad Raffensperger's office, the Secretary of State's office. Well, we took a look at her LinkedIn profile. We looked at her Facebook, and just to confirm we had the right Julianne Thompson, yes, there she is, and there she is with Jason Thompson. Very pretty picture. Here is her background as listed currently on LinkedIn. She lists herself as president of the Main Street, pardon me. She lists herself as president of Main Street Network Strategies and says that she's been doing that since 2010 to present, 15 years and 6 months. And again, we looked at this this week, literally this week. Prior to that, she lists that she was press secretary and communications director of the Georgia Republican Party. That was in 2000, January to December. And then a legislative aide back in the 90s for U.S. State House of Representatives. Very interesting, great background. She also, if you take a look back at her expertise, she is a qualified communications director. So she is expert at forming communications necessary to openly and correctly communicate various aspects of governmental affairs and who's doing what and who's where and so forth. Great background, wonderful. So we did check and we looked to see whether she was actually engaged with the Secretary of State. Well, this record goes back to 2020, and it says indeed she was paid. Now, this appears that she was paid as a vendor $45,000 by the Secretary of State's office in 2020. Very interesting. Also, in 2021, she was paid $60,000. Very good. Must be doing good work there. In 22, she was paid another $60,000, according to Open Georgia website that tracks payments from various agencies within Georgia. And then in 23, she was paid $5,000. Well, interestingly enough, well, I think we'll see why that is in just a moment. She actually was an employee of the Secretary of State's office in 23, according to Gov Salaries. And you can see that they list her here, and they describe that her pay as an employee in the Secretary of State's office is, let's see, $58,680, and that is 127% higher than the average and 324% higher than the median salary in Secretary of State. Wow, doing very well. What was she doing in 2024? Well, she was employed in the Secretary of State's office, according to this website, also in 2024 at what appears to be the same salary, and again was over the average and over the median on the pay scale, if you will, the average and the median salary in the Secretary of State's office. That's great. What is interesting, though, is where is that on her LinkedIn profile? And why would it not be there? Well, we don't know.
Celebrate our newest launch, Rev 7. I'm bringing you an amazing introductory offer, plus an exclusive overstock sale that you're not going to want to miss. Rev 7 is our premium energy drink that tastes great and gives you energy all day with no jitters and no crashes. That's because there's no sugar and no caffeine. I'm so sure you're going to love Rev 7 that for a limited time you can try our 3-pack absolutely free. Or check out our Percale bed sheets. I can't believe I'm even going to say this. Every color, every style, every size, only $29.88. So go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save 20% on our Rev 7 12-packs or try our introductory 3-pack absolutely free. And our Percale bed sheets, all sizes, only $29.88, even the queens and kings. Inventory is extremely limited, so order now.
Pandemic, we can never be caught unprepared again. And so many Americans, when COVID hit, they had nothing in the house. Stores were shut down and doctors' offices were shut down. And even if doctors prescribed drugs, hydroxychloroquine, ivermectin, pharmacists wouldn't fill the prescriptions. That was a nightmare.
Now the situation is much worse. We have these horrible supply chain problems. In our emergency medical kit at the Wellness Company, we have 8 prescription drugs that are all potentially life-saving.
Most people who died with COVID, they died in the hospital because they didn't receive early treatment.
Every American family should have one of these.
I can tell you the Wellness Company kit is the answer.
When Johnny comes marching home again, hurrah, hurrah, we'll give him a hearty welcome then, hurrah, hurrah. Oh, the men will cheer, the boys will shout, the ladies, they will all turn out and will all...
Welcome back to the SCIF. You hear the local news in Georgia, but now we're going to talk international. And I've got Pete Blaber here, and we're going to give an update on what's going on in Ukraine. Pete, thanks for joining me today.
Hey, good to be here, Todd. How you doing?
We're busy, but it's all good. So there's a lot to talk about today, my friend. I've got a bunch ready for you. So you tell me when you want the first slide up.
Yeah, great. So I'll just, as an intro, you hit on it, lots of developments, lots to talk about. Main thing is the peace talks between Russian Special Envoy Kirill Dmitriev and Steve Witkoff just concluded in Miami. More about that in a minute. Why they were meeting in Miami, of course, it's important to point out, talking about how to make world peace. Zelensky and the EU leaders were meeting in Europe to figure out how to find money and keep the war and the corruption going. So important to call that out. Just amazing juxtaposition of events. And as you'll hear, I'm going to go into this a little more as we get going, but whoever thought that you would have to have clandestine peace talks to end a world war size war? It's crazy, Todd. And again, that's what's happening right now. And I'll show you some of the little reveals of how you can tell that, you know, the US and Russia and many of these non-primary EU countries have smartened up, and they realize, you know, if we're gonna end this war, we've got to do it behind closed doors. We can't broadcast, you know, what our accomplishments are or what we're working on, because they'll go right to work trying to sabotage it.
Yeah.
So here we are today with the Ukrainian army. They're hanging by a thread. Civil disobedience. You'll see a few videos in Ukraine is at a climax. And what's Zelensky doing? He's not in 24/7 roll up your sleeve meetings with Ukrainian military commanders or his parliament workers or local mayors. He's not running town halls with the people trying to figure out how they're going to heat their homes this winter, because there's almost no power left. The grid's almost completely taken out as of last night, as of last night's bombing. So
I'm hearing that, by the way, Pete, from people inside Ukraine, and not just in the city, but that they want to leave because there's no electricity. I mean, that's when you really get down to, it's winter, it's cold. And, you know, no electricity in the winter is very difficult.
Well, they're leaving right now. Apparently, there's a massive outflux of millionaires, and money is being drained out of any of the local accounts that it was in is all gone. So people are flying the coop from Ukraine. The intelligentsia, which, you know, is usually a sign, a precursor of a country about to fall. So, you know, again, the craziness is to decide the fate of Ukraine. Zelensky is with his EU buddies and, you know, living the high life in Europe as a hero in 5-star hotels. And just they're rolling up their sleeves in Europe, trying to figure out how to get money. They could not get an agreement thanks to FICO and some of the other non-primary EU country leaders. That that movement failed. So they're doing everything they can to fight to the last Ukrainian, and that is a real statement. That's what the globalists are advocating for. So to conclude, and basically the story that we're going to tell today is the story of this Wizard of Oz moment that we're living in, and it's a Wizard of Oz moment because we're in the moment where Toto pulls the curtain back and reveals that everything we thought we knew about this wizard, this all-powerful wizard, is something other than what we were told. And in fact, the wizard was a total lie made up by some old men, like the propaganda for the Ukraine war. And the Ukraine war should be called the Ukraine propaganda war. And because this war is not what we were told. And the fact is, it's not the what we believe about the way it started and why it's still going are complete propaganda lies. So let's tell the story. Let's start with the Wickoff, the Miami peace talks. Again, they just concluded.
Wrong one. Sorry.
Oh, that's okay.
There you go.
Yeah, right here. So again, you could see Wickoff after what happened when he met in Moscow. He's got the new, we're not briefing the press. We're not telling our enemies, which is, EU and these EU leaders, what we're working on, where we've had breakthroughs, where we haven't, because they'll continue to try to sabotage it. But he called them constructive, productive. And the key statement here, you notice, is not highlighted, but it's the key statement. The last sentence, he stated that the Russian side is fully committed to achieving peace. So that should be the headline everywhere across the world. That's the reality. But the counter reality, unfortunately, because the mainstream media is stronger, and we'll show that in a minute. So go ahead. The next one is the comments by Kirill Dmitriev, which are, this was kind of surprising. He was the one who came up with the idea back in the Alaska summit for the tunnel between Russia and the peninsula in Russia and Alaska. And so he says right off, getting ready to work with the U.S. in the Arctic. And I love hearing that. That's a very positive thing because, as I'll talk about in the end, economic collaboration is the way you get diplomatic, military, and civilian cooperation. You start linking the country economically, and it's a great kickoff to that. But that was Dmitriev's comments. He's flying back to Moscow right now to brief Putin. So go ahead, next one up. Yeah, here he is. And he's saying on his way out, the deep state is trying to provide a third world war by fomenting anti-Russian paranoia. And we're going to get to Tulsi Gabbard's statement, but again, this is what I was talking about, the Wizard of Oz moment. Empirical facts are colliding with their propaganda. It's neutralizing the propaganda as we speak. And what's happened is it's not just shows like ours, and I'd like to say that we've probably been in the lead on it, but it's these small Eastern European countries. It's the Russians themselves. And as you're going to see in a minute, it's the citizens of these countries starting to speak up and say the same thing. But it's the facts that are just instantly neutralizing the propaganda. And I'll show you what Tulsi Gabbard said in a second here, which is incredibly important. So this is the counter, so you get this positive. This is what I meant. We're going to go back and forth yin yang here with this story. So you get these positive comments. And again, this is what I mean historically, Todd. It's unimaginable at any point in our lifetime where while one group, the primary group, tries to find peace, the rest of the world huddles together to try to keep a war going, especially a war like this. So this is Rute, and I have to read a couple of these things because they're so bizarrely anti-reality that you have to hear them to believe them. And he said, this is a crucial moment because we must ensure that Ukraine is never attacked again. They weren't attacked after a ceasefire or peace agreement. Let's hope for the best. Let's hope we achieve this goal. And this means Putin must understand a renewed attack would be catastrophic for him. There are 3 levels to this. And so he goes on, the 3 levels are that he believes have to happen. Number 1, the Ukrainian armed forces, he believes they must be robust. They must be in excellent shape. So he's saying we must arm and refit the Ukrainian armed forces. That's number 1. Second level is, this is very interesting what he says here and how he says it. Second level is coalition of the willing, led by France and the UK with participation of Germany and other countries. I believe this is reflective of the fallout. MERS went all in on using the frozen Russian assets. They say Macron turned his, kind of dissed him in the closed meetings.
Yeah.
And now there's this big chasm, as surprises no one who understands European history.
This is the head of NATO that we have an alliance with, who we have Article 5 protection for, saying this crap.
Yeah.
I mean, it's amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy. And he says the coalition will provide everything necessary to assure, in addition to the Ukrainian armed forces, that Putin does not dare to attack again.
Which they have nothing to give. They have nothing to send.
Yeah, so he's living in this. You have nothing that could legitimately threaten Putin right now, not even at the nuclear level. They don't have anything that could make Putin go, whoa, okay, now they're serious. They've gone through all those, and that's the problem with lying and bluffing all the time. Pretty soon, everyone's like, he's lying and bluffing again, and they don't listen to you.
The boy that cried wolf,
And then his third thing is, he says is the United States. The American president stated in August that he's ready to participate, and which means nothing. That doesn't say he gave any commitment. And we are now working to combine these 3 elements, the Ukrainian armed forces, the coalition of the willing, and the U.S. contribution, so that Putin understands very clearly not to do this again. So threatening, just in your face, but with no connection to reality. So let's go to the next one up.
Yep, here we go.
So this is a historic moment. Again, can't say enough about how much respect I have for her. Tulsi Gabbard came out, the U.S. National Intelligence Director, and called false the media's claim that Russia is allegedly planning an invasion of Europe. So, Todd, you and I have talked about this on and on. We've said you can go through any press release from Russia in the last 20 years. You can go through written or digital, and you will not find a single reference, a single veiled threat, a single mention of Russia invading any other part of Europe. Not only that, but there was never any actions that Russia did. They didn't, load one of the borders. They don't have secret agents in conducting sabotage in a European capital. Nothing like that. But the final piece was, what does our combined U.S. 15 agencies of national intelligence, NSA, CIA, combined, everything they have, what does it tell us? And she tells us right here. The warmongers of the deep state and their propaganda media are trying to undermine President Trump's efforts to establish peace in Ukraine and, in fact, in Europe. The aim of such statements is to gain support for their pro-war policy. The truth is that the U.S. intelligence community informed lawmakers about the existence of data indicating that Russia is seeking to avoid a larger conflict with NATO, which has been the fact from the beginning. We have intercepted, our intelligence has told us from the beginning, the reason Putin has had such a kit glove approach, such a sensitivity to collateral damage, such a policy to keep Kyiv almost completely off limits is because of this right here. He's always been concerned about accidentally sparking a larger NATO war, but now you have it. So anyone who says anything different is just bold-faced lying. There's no basis of fact anywhere but in their imagination. So hugely historic statement, not just for history and for us in the US, but for Russia, along with the new National Defense Authorization Act, which does not name Russia as an enemy, names them as a partner. And you're about to see Putin use both of those. The logic is his logic of why, which is a fantastic reply to Europe. So go ahead. And this just, we're going yin yang again. So you just heard that Director of National Intelligence of the United States of America, which is the Director of National Intelligence for all of NATO. And here's the head from one of your British brethren from the British Air Force. The sons and daughters of Great Britain should be ready to fight Russia. I mean,
yeah, they've
Todd,
said over and over, it's time to sacrifice our children.
but don't you think those words, I mean, they're almost like something that, you know, that you would consider UCMJ against. It's
Yes,
such a reckless statement. And
Yes.
almost any other time, even in sensitive times, if a four-star general said something like this, he would at a minimum be demarched and more likely be relieved. But this is so bellicose and it's so in your face, but it's also so, it just shows you have to now look at him in the context of what we just showed before this, and you have to look at this guy and go, that guy is crazy. He's not trustworthy. He's not credible. And he's in charge of a country's entire Air Force.
So I skipped over a couple videos. I've got the Putin video and the Lukashenko video.
Yeah, let's do it's okay. That's still a good order. Let's go to Putin because
Okay, here we go. This is like 3 minutes. I probably won't play all of it. But.
Yeah, it's okay.
Final point with respect to those aggressive statements and declarations. I marvel at them. And I know, I personally know the current NATO Secretary General, the former Prime Minister of the Netherlands. I used to pay a visit to the Netherlands, and he's a smart person, a clever person, a systemic one.
Talking about Rutte.
And an efficient one. He used to be an efficient Prime Minister, and the economy of the Netherlands is in a good shape, and this is partly his merit. But now he's talking nonsense. Why are you talking this nonsense about a prospective war with Russia? They want to get ready and brace themselves for a war with Russia. Can you just read the new strategy, national security strategy of the United States, and it says that the United States is a key player and the founder and the main sponsor of NATO, and the bulk of the funding comes from the United States, as well as the ordnance and hardware and weapons. So the new U.S. strategy, security strategy, Russia is not indicated as an enemy.
So I'll leave that there. I mean, that's fascinating.
Yeah, it is fascinating, and just another observation that it's you know, a pattern that is undeniable. You know, Trump, from the moment he got in office in January of this year, 25, he began these, you know, open air press conferences and this over availability to the people in the press, and you see it mirrored around the world, and Putin's doing the same thing. And it's interesting, again, to juxtapose that to the Democrats and the globalists. They don't have any press conference. Joe Biden never had an open, free-flowing press conference because he couldn't, but he wouldn't even if he could have. The Democrats don't do it. The globalists don't do it. Why? Because you can't do it if you're not telling the truth and you're not what you're saying isn't based on facts. But if it is, if you're telling the truth and what you're doing and saying is based on facts as you know them and as are reinforced by, countless sources, then you can handle anything. You can take any open air press conference. You can take any question. That what you just saw with Putin there is a new thing he started. He's taking calls from all over the world in this. It's like a town hall he's doing. So really fascinating, really a positive step for world leadership, because that should be the norm. We've gotten away from it based on the Biden years, but very powerful. And he's using the logic, of facts. And I think this is what's turning around. So let's go to Lukashenko. He does the same thing.
Yeah, let me just say, I was playing Trump's on the cold open this morning, some of Trump's comments. He came out yesterday and said 27,000 Ukrainians died last month in the war.
Yeah.
Dude, that's insane.
Yeah, it's 1,000 a day.
It
is.
People can't understand the scope of this.
I know.
Yeah.
Well,
anyway.
Russia came out. Russia's had very accurate casualty figures, and they came out last week and said they believe the total KIA for Ukraine is 1.5 million. So I think that's right. We've been saying between 1 and 1.25, but it's 1.5 million. I do the research. I spend hours every week watching videos, and it's horrific. Most of them are on videotape, so it's not some urban legend. You can see it. There was a body exchange that just happened last week. This body exchange, so the last 6 body exchanges have almost identical ratios, and that ratio is 39-1. So in this last exchange, 1,020, the Russia gave Ukraine 1,020 dead Ukrainian KIA that had been left on the battlefield. Ukraine gave Russia 39. And that exact ratio has happened in all 6 exchanges. It's about 39-40-1 on the casualties going on the ground. Yeah.
All right, here's Lukashenko.
Thing that I think most Americans don't know, and you can probably explain this to me, is this:
что я не знаю, большинство американцев также, наверное, не знают. Почему Путин начал эту войну? Зачем? К чему он стремился?
Вы знаете, американцы не знают, потому что вы американцам истинные причины войны не рассказывали. Я вам приведу пример, который обычно привожу, и вы меня поймете. У вас рядом Мексика. Точно так, как у России рядом Украина. Так?
Yeah,
так.
The subtitles fell off. Todd, you can stop it. I'll just sum up what he said.
Okay.
So he's doing a great job. He's using the analogy. He's explaining to her. And by the way, she's been pretty much a war hawk the whole time.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that she's doing the interview. But what he told her was about what's called the invasion. Is he said, imagine if Mexico was invaded. He didn't say China, but let's say China invaded Mexico, and they overthrew the Mexican government. We knew this because we have tapes of them talking about it. NSA recorded tapes of them talking about it and talking about who they were going to put in power after they overthrew the government. So then they overthrew the Mexican government, put their people in power, and their people instantly gave the order to begin killing American expats in Mexico. A lot of people don't know this, but there's 1.6 million American expats in Mexico. So let's say they killed only 14,000 of them, which is how many ethnic Russians the Ukrainians killed. So not only did they kill 14,000, then they outlawed the English language for those 1.6 million. Then they told them they can't practice Catholicism or Christianity any longer. It's against the law. Then they told them your pensions, your flow of money is being cut off. And all the while they're killing them via just lobbing artillery into their housing projects.
Yeah.
What would the U.S. do? You don't have to ask that. As
Yeah.
soon as the government was overthrown, we would flatten with missiles, with paratroopers. We would, if you know, the downside would be we would more likely to overreact, but it would not be tolerated in the slightest. And
Yeah.
yet, when you apply the exact same scenario to Russia, people act shocked that they came in and really. Putin announced it at the time when he announced, if you go back and play his tape of him announcing to the world the start of the special military operation, he calls it a humanitarian effort to end the genocide conducted by the Ukrainian military against the ethnic Russian people of Eastern Ukraine. And so this is what I mean. The logic is happening. Thank goodness for free speech and the ability to communicate.
Well, that's it. It's the media is so key. I mean, people are so
Yes.
propagandized. I gave a speech at the Brownstone Institute up here in Hartford last week, and there was an Italian woman there, and she's like, everything you're saying is so new to me. And she's like, the Italians are so propagandized. They have no media. They don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly what's going on in many jurisdictions right now.
Yes. Yep. Europe is they have no voice. Just as what we've told people about Ukraine, the reason you don't hear more and the reason we show those videos, those forced conscription videos, is because the people of Ukraine have no voice. There is no independent media in Kyiv. You and I both been there. We know that. They're gone. George Soros eliminated every last one of them. He owns the media. In Europe, you're not allowed to speak out. Germany, France, and Great Britain do not share our values on freedom of speech. They're leaders. They're people, as we're going to talk about in a minute, are crying out for sanity and someone to recognize they have no interest in war with Russia and no interest in fighting a war for the weak leaders that they have running their countries right now. So I think we have a few more.
Yep, here's the next one.
Yeah. So this is and more logic. For 3 years, they've been telling us that Russia is losing. And suddenly they're saying Russia is going to attack the whole world. How can someone attack the whole world if a year ago they couldn't even take a single dirt road? Propaganda is the same in the West and in the East, just in the opposite version. Let's give them money. Let them fight. It's really none of my business. So, it's really a good thing happening. And that's why I want to tell this story. Logic and freedom to share logic and empirical knowledge is the #1 way to defeat propaganda and globalist censorship. And it's happening right now. Logic, common sense is contagious. And so is senselessness, unfortunately. But that's why you got to get common sense and logic out, and that's why free speech is so important. So, we showed that open press conference. The bottom picture there is of Putin in that open press conference. NBC News was there. They got to ask a question. That's the guy in the top. What did they do? They lied. They went back and told a bold-faced lie about what Putin said, figuring, hey, no one's going to watch this tape of Putin in, his own press conference in Russia. We can say whatever we want. So the truth again catches up, and it just shows you there's no letting up. You'd think NBC News, people like, mainstream organizations like NBC would be smartening up, going, hey, we better get on the other side of this thing because we're going to get exposed. But they're not. They continue to double down.
They're all in. They're all in. Yeah.
Yep.
Here's the next.
Yeah, this is a guy named Che Bowers. He's a reporter, and he went to Moscow from Europe. He said, absolutely no one here in Moscow wants war with Europe, the UK, or anyone else. He's a UK reporter. Meanwhile, No one in the streets of London, Paris, or Berlin wants a war with Russia. So why is a tiny EU NATO elite trying to burn the continent? And who's going to die for them? So just a great, I didn't include it, Todd. There were two tapes made, selfie videos. One's from England, one's from France. They're just, Joe Public, man on the street going, hey, I just wanted to say something to Russia. I want to tell you, us Brits have absolutely no interest in fighting you. And not only do we have no interest, there's no way any of us will fight for this leader against you. So please recognize that. Please don't think we're going to engage you in a nuclear war. Please don't aim your weapons at us. And to me, it kind of strikes something maybe we could challenge our buddy Elon Musk to over at X. He should reach out right now to Britain, France, Germany, and even to Russia and say, hey, do polls, how many of you actually have any interest or think there's any logical reason to go to war with Russia? But poll them, get the poll results, but also give them a forum to speak, for we the people to speak and say, hey, my country, I'm hostage of this guy Starmer, this guy Macron, this guy Merz. I'm a hostage. I have no voice. I have no interest in going to war with Russia. I think that's the movement that needs to happen now, because this is the world held hostage by elitists, global elitists, and
they want to kill you. Yeah.
Yep, and we won't let it happen as long as we all embrace the reality of the situation going on around us.
I saw Orban said, and I'm paraphrasing, he said, if you know history, Hitler and then Napoleon tried to invade Russia and were unsuccessful. But I'm sure Kaja Kallas of Estonia will be successful, or whatever.
Right. No, wise words, man. Wise words. And again, I recommend anybody you want to read about crazy combat, read about the World War II on the Eastern Front. And it is unbelievable, but it tells you everything you need to know about Russia from a military history perspective. Never underestimate. Go ahead.
I was going to say we have Lindsey Graham. So
I want to put this up because it's great, again, to juxtapose the insanity of this guy against the reality that's going on around us in the world.
No, we need to dramatically change the game, including giving Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine to hit the drone and missile factories that exist in Russia. I would go all in if Putin says no.
There you go.
Yeah, he should be. So everyone in this country should know that is the poster of a madman. That is a nut job, acting like he's talking with some authority or some degree of surety.
Who has no children. No, he has no care about what happens after he's gone.
Right. He's one of the largest benefactors of the military-industrial complex campaign contributions. I think he's the second largest in the Congress and Senate. So where he's coming from, but his comments, I mean, President Trump should just tell him, dude, it's not even funny anymore. You're not even like an oddity off to the side. It's dangerous what you're saying, and any shred of credibility that guy ever had is just gone. Because that tape's from yesterday. He's calling for cruise missiles to not end the war, but to expand it. Craziness.
And people don't realize that Tomahawk is nuclear capable. You don't know what's on that missile, so Russia really would have no choice but to respond, possibly nuclear. So here's one other article you put me. I didn't read all of it, but you sent me that one.
I just want to talk about this a little bit, and let me just call it up so I can see it a little closer. So the Russian duo, I think you've heard of them, Vovan and Lexus. They do these fake calls and get people to spill their guts about things, pretending they're someone else. So he pretended they pretended they were a Ukrainian guy that worked on national security in 13, 14, 15 for Ukraine, was the key contact of Victoria Nuland, Ambassador Pyatt, and the American State Department, CIA, in 13 and 14 when they overthrew the Ukrainian government. So they called this woman named Amanda Sloat. You've probably heard of her before. She's been called by Politico the architect of Biden's Europe policy. Well, Nuland was the architect, but this is Nuland's worker bee. Amanda Sloat's like the ops officer for Nuland. And so she's involved in all of the memos. You'll see her name, all of the press releases. So she thought she was speaking to Ukrainian presidential aide. This guy talked about Igor Zavoka. And the first thing she admitted was that the Biden administration could have prevented the war before it started by just saying Ukraine would not join NATO. But then she said, we chose not to do that. We had a conversation before the war started about what if Ukraine comes out and just says to Russia, fine, we won't go into NATO if that stops the war, if that stops the invasion, which at that point it would have done. But she said, despite that, we felt uncomfortable with the idea of the U.S. pushing Ukraine not to do that. Remember, the U.S., that's like saying the puppeteer controlling the puppet felt bad about making the puppet move to one way or the other. So, because it would implicitly give Russia some sort of sphere of influence or veto power. So this just gives you, an insight into the senseless the inability to make sensible choices, but the senselessness of these global elites. They cannot make decisions. And that's how we got into this mess. She then admitted that the US and the EU could have ended the war in the Istanbul peace talks in 22. And she said that everything was fine. Same thing. All they had to do at this point was to say that we will not join NATO and we will not continue to build up the military. She says we had no problem with the military part because we knew we could keep building it and they wouldn't know. But just to tell them we would not join NATO. And Ukraine agreed. But then Boris Johnson flew into Kyiv and said, don't sign anything with the Russians. Let's just fight.
The UK is really really disingenuous in this whole thing, obviously.
So Amanda Sloat admitted all this. Now, what's interesting, she got on the phone on her ops officer, who's ex-NSC staff member Eric Green, and what he told the pranksters is far more dark and far more concerning. He suggested for these new peace talks that Kyiv should now craft a settlement that contains enough ambiguity in it to allow Ukraine to do what it wants to do while allowing Russian President Vladimir Putin to believe that he has accomplished something. The goal, he said, would be to construct an end to the war that assumes there will never be one, even though there will be for sure.
Wow.
So you've got to, yeah. So now, I mean, I believe we can extrapolate that. That's the mentality going on with these globalists right now. And it's not me saying this. Numerous other people have said it because coming from Europe, that these EU leaders, when they went into that shell during the Moscow talks, when they all huddled up and some of those leaks came out, MERS saying, hey, Trump's, we got to cut away from Trump. Macron saying the same thing. They're trying to wait out Trump. And, they get this whisper in their ear, which they've gotten from these fools, these global elites who can't make a decision to save their life, much less an international or global policy decision. They've got these leftists whispering in their ear, keep it going. We're going to get rid of Trump. Hang in there. And so what you see is this last ditch effort is, okay, maybe we can't win, but if we can keep things going, draw it out for another year,
And that's
year
what
and a half.
Putin's worried that he's not going to accept that. He wants a real end to the war, not to. And I think he says deal with the root causes of the war, not just a ceasefire, where they can rearm and go again. Right?
Yeah, exactly right. And he also understands his patience with this administration is based on an understanding of what they're going through, a visceral understanding of the U.S. deep state and the level of criminal activity that the Democratic Party has resorted to in cahoots with these globalists and their color revolutions.
And the Republicans.
And Lindsey Graham, great point. So we should just call them globalists in general. And he knows that's the real threat. And I think Trump knows that too. And that's why I said, I believe you've seen the peace talks go through this metamorphosis. They're now clandestine peace talks, and they're guarding, the conversations that go on in those peace talks, like they guard clandestine secrets.
So I have one more short video of a drone attack. Do you want to play that?
Yeah, I want to show that because that's how I want to close this out. So go ahead. And folks, this is just a small example of what's happening on the ground. These are Ukrainian soldiers. And that's their combat experience right there. And that happens, as we said, about 1,000 men are dying a day. Many of them just that way. And impersonal, they're getting out of vehicle, throwing their rucksacks on, and a drone blows them to smithereens. They die, they bleed out on a dirt road out in the middle of nowhere in Ukraine. This is what these globalists are fighting for. This is what they're trying to keep going. This is what they want in opposition to peace. And this is why it's so important to keep the logic flowing, to keep the freedom to communicate knowledge and facts globally, why it's so integral to the survival of freedom-loving people all across the planet.
Survival of humanity. Pete, thank you so much, man. Such great information. Wow, just really great show. Really appreciate it. And we'll have you back after the holidays. Merry Christmas, Pete. And we'll see you.
Merry Christmas to you and to all our viewers, Todd.
All right. Take care, my friend. All right, so we're going to close the show out here. I mentioned earlier, Rea died, who's a fantastic musician. I want to just play this video, and then we'll close out the show after that. Merry Christmas. Spend some time with your family. If you're looking to understand what's going on in the Middle East, paying the price, the untold story of the Iranian resistance, get that for whoever needs it. And let's stop a war in the Middle East from coming. So here we go with Rea. Hope you really enjoy this. We'll see you next time.
Warm winds blowing, heat and blue sky, and a road that goes forever. Been thinking about it lately, been watching some TV, been looking all around me and what has come to be. Been talking to my neighbor and he agrees with me. It's all gone crazy. Well, my wife returns from taking my little girl to school. She got beads of perspiration as she tries to keep her cool. She says that mess, it don't get no better. There's gonna come a day someone's gonna get killed out there. And I turn to her and say, Texas. She says, what? I said, Texas. She says, what? They got big sky and a road that goes forever. I'm gonna Texas. We gotta get out of here. We gotta get out of here. Well, I got a little brother, several meters high. Yeah, he's built just like a quarterback, and he swears he'll testify. He says he's been to Texas, and that's the only place to be. It stakes because no trouble here, that's the place for me. I'm going to Texas. Yeah, yeah. Oh, I'm going to Texas. Yeah, yeah. I'm going to Texas.